Hi everyone. Today we are going to talk about CSS. I'm going to start whenever I go use Chrome, I can right click anywhere on the web page and it should give you this inspect option. And I open that up, and if you see the elements here, this is what the HTML code looks like. We've got an HTML tag, a head tag, a body tag, iframe tag, an HTTP app tag. Down here we've got a div tag, an SVG tag. So these are all different elements, also called, I call them tags, but uh, uh, so, and then each of these has a style. So if we go to our content, this one right here, you can see all this stuff gets highlighted. So if you want, you can select this button right here, and then you can go over here and you can select a part of it, and that will represent that, and it will highlight it down here. And then this over here is the styles. This is where we're going to talk about HTML. So this styles tab needs to be open, and then if you if you want to type style, so we're going to say background. Oops, what the cool thing is about this, if you just hit a letter, it's going to give you a whole bunch of different options for different styles you can add. And this is a great way to explore what CSS styles possibilities there are. And you could actually just click one of these guys, right? To click background. Now it's got black background, but we don't want to just do background. We want to do background color. So if you start typing, hit tab, and it will autocomplete there for you. And then here, as you can see, it's already given us a bunch of choices. So I click beige, and it just suddenly changed the background of this website. So this is how you can very easily select not just the, and if I want to select another one, I can just delete that, and it gives me a bunch of other choices. So these are all the different hard-coded choices that you can make. These are easy ones to select from. And so this is a way to get your feet wet, understanding what options there are for styles and for the values, the types of styles you can add, and the values for those. So so that's that. So this is basic. So this is an idea of what a CSS style is and how it affects. You can go in through here and change all kinds of different things, and go over here and just add all kinds of styles and mess it all up as much as you like. It's a lot of fun sometimes. But this helps us to be able to identify, okay, there's this style and this is the value that I can get for it. So in this HTML, so what this is a style, what's called a style sheet. So this styles.css, this is a file. Go ahead and create a file called styles.css that we are in our basic repo with just the header. I've actually added this link in the heading of this web page. So, but you probably don't have this yet. You should have this head, and you should have this body, as well as the H1 tag, a P tag, and you can create a button here if you want. This is this is something that we could do. We're going to learn more about this later, but buttons are fun. So if right now, if I go up here and so there's two ways I can do this. I can actually hit this play button and run and debug, and that should open up. Actually, I don't know if that's going to work. So what happens, I think, is the default of this is going to be localhost, which is not going to work. So what's actually, oh no, it does work. Okay. So in my case, it did work. There's some settings to set in that to make that so that this play button works. But so right now, the easy way to do is just to basically use the file path for this. In Windows, you can just copy the file path and it'll just paste it right in here, and it'll work. In Apple, it's or Mac, it's a little bit different. But in any case, this is the way that you can so to look at your web page. So as you can see right now, I don't have any styles. Well, you can't really tell for sure, but I don't really have any styles here. I've got a button called button. I put the name button in it. So if I could say my button, and if I do that, then I hit save, and then I refresh this, it'll say my button. So that's just this is my button. But what we want to do is, so first of all, let's go ahead and go back over here. Let's go to our index.html. Make sure you create a styles.css file. And then in our index.html, we have to link that to our HTML page. And this is where we create a tag called a link tag. And this is what's called a self-closing tag because it doesn't have, like this title has an opening tag and a closing tag. This just has one, and it has two attributes. It has rel and href. And rel just tells you it's a styleship. So link is basically a tag that allows you to link external files to this HTML page, like style sheets or JavaScript files. So this is a rel stands for what type of file it is. This is a CSS file, which stands for cascading style sheet. And so you put style sheet, it has to be spelled like this, all lowercase. And then href, you do the name of your file minus styles.css. If this was inside of a folder in my repo, I would have to specify the relative path with the folder name slash. So if I had a folder named folder, I would have that. It would look like that. But I don't right now. I have styles at the top level. It's in the same folder that the index.html is. So this is what you would do to reference that file. So now we've got this thing referenced. So inside of here, the first thing we can do, we've got three tags, an H1, a P, and a button. Let's first look at the H1 tag. So if we want to write styles for that in our CSS, we would start by typing H1, H1, and then a space, and then curly brackets. I can hit enter, and then I could say background color, and let's just say something easy to see, blue violet. All right. So with that, now if I go into my web page now, so this is already linked. Because this is already linked here, all the styles are going to automatically be applied in here. So now I save that, I go to my HTML, and if I refresh this, you can see now that this is actually purple. Which one? This is welcome to class. So welcome to class, if I look over here, is what's written in the H1 tag. So this is how you apply a style to an H1. So let's change this color to not blue, violet, but something a little bit less unpleasant, like light, something light. Light blue. Let's try light coral. No, light blue. Light blue is nice. So if we go back over here and we refresh this, now it's a light blue. It's a little easier on the eyes. But so now what I can do is, now what I would like you to do is we want to add a class to one of these. A class is an attribute. So I'm going to add, oops, that was highlighted. So I want to add a class attribute. So if I start typing it, autocompletes, gives me class. I hit tab, and now I'm going to just name this first, just because it doesn't matter what name you give it, as long as the name that you reference that. So I'm assigning a class to this called first. And so now if I go into my styles.css, I create another one. The way to reference a class, I gotta type dot for a period first, and then I type first, and that's how you reference a class. And we basically can just do color for this one. Color gives you color to the text, and so we're going to give this we'll give this a dark violet. That might be ugly, but it'll be all right. So if I go back now, and so now what I've done is this is me saying, all right, for the class called first, I'm going to give this a color of violet. So this one is saying, hey, I'm class first. The H1 tag is that. So let's go back over here. So welcome to class should be purple if I did this right. And there it changes to purple. So now that's assigned. So now what's going on here is that this style right here is change the background color light blue. This style is changing the color, which is the font color, the text color, to purple. So both of these are applied to the same div. So let's do another class. Well, actually, so what I'd like you to do is we can actually do this. We could copy this, and we could paste this multiple times. So one of the interesting things about classes is that you can reuse classes. So you can assign multiple tags to the same class. You can't do that with an ID, but you can do that with a class. We're going to talk about IDs in a second. So right now what I've done is I've added a bunch of different, if I refresh this, you see they all have the same styles on them because you only have to put the style for class once, and then for this class first, as well as the H1 tag. This is saying every single H1 tag is going to have the background color like that. So what if I take the class out of one of these? So now if I go over here and I refresh this, you see this one's now not purple. The rest of these are purple, but this one still has the blue background because it's still an H1 tag. So in this case, the H1 is applied, but the first is not because this doesn't have a class anymore. Let's change this to an ID. So we're talking about IDs now. If I hit ID, hit tab, and I type A, we'll just say ID A. I don't have a good ID name right now. I can't think of a good name, but so I'm just gonna say A. So over here, I'm gonna say, so the way to reference, I can style this ID separately. So if I do, to reference an ID, we use number sign and A, also called a hash. And then I put the curly brackets, and then I can say color. On this one, I can say color, that's interesting. Green. For some reason that didn't autocomplete there. I'm not sure why. So put a semicolon. The CSS wants you to put semicolons at the end of the lines for these. So if we do that, okay, so now if we go back to our index.html, we've got this A ID called A. And, but okay, so that, and now let's go back to our web page and let's see what happens if we refresh it. So now, welcome to class. That's not a very good color, but that color is now being set to only that one. But now I can't add an ID. If I try to do an ID of A on this one, I'm going to have an error. It's going to cause problems. So you should only use an ID. Actually, if I do that, I'm not sure what this is going to do. Yeah, I thought it might just work, but it will usually throw some kind of error, and there will be some kind of problem if you try to do that in a lot of frameworks and things like that you would use. So, and if you're using JavaScript and stuff like that, it wouldn't work. So we can use both classes and IDs to reference for styles, as well as CSS styles, as well as you can reference an ID or a class in JavaScript. That's going to be something we're going to deal with later. But so right now, I showed you how to add an ID to an element, as well as add a style with a class to an element. So I'd like you to go through and create a number of elements, create 5 different classes and 5 different IDs, and then style them all, reference each class, each ID separately here, so that you can start getting some practice with how to wire up an ID to the right style. All right, with that, good luck. Thanks.